It's the Phillies Derby on ESPN, featuring the reigning queen of the sportive king, the champion, unbeaten filly of 1989, Open Mind. Budweiser racing across America. Today, live from Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the 115th Kentucky Oaks. This ESPN sports presentation is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By the Thoroughbred Racing Association, assuring the highest racing standards. Churchill Downs is a TRA member track. By Three Chimneys, the idea is excellence. And by Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas. Relive the legend. Stay tuned next for Oaks Day at Churchill Downs. Today they run the Kentucky Oaks for the 115th time here at Churchill Downs. And believe me, folks, the sun is not shining brightly on the old Kentucky home today. Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln as we welcome you to Churchill Downs, to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Welcome back to their most famous weekend of racing. It's the first weekend of May. It starts today with the Kentucky Oaks, and it is a rainy Kentucky Oaks. I'm sure people are concerned about the Derby tomorrow. They have never had an off track at Churchill Downs in the 80s, not since 1970 have they had a Derby run on anything but a fast track. That may change tomorrow. Let's talk about our race schedule, though, today. Oaks Day here at Churchill Downs. We have two live races for you. The Early Times Turf Classic. And then our feature here, the 9th race at Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies. We'll also bring you bonus coverage of the Louisville Budweiser Breeders' Cup, one of those special stakes races of 50 added races around the nation. Some of the great race activity there, we'll have that for you. Right now, though, let's meet our host here at Churchill Downs on a much brighter, sunnier day with this TRA message.
Hi, I'm Tom Meeker, president of Churchill Downs, and I want to welcome you to the 115th running of the Kentucky Oaks. You know, in racing today, there are a lot of changes that are going about, and here at Churchill Downs, there's no exception. Over the past 5 years, we spent $25 million improving our facilities, bringing a new paddock to the race course, bringing a new turf course, bringing a new turf club. But we're not atypical. Throughout the racing industry today, there are changes being made. Positive changes for you, the racing fan. And we're proud to be part of this system of change that's going on throughout our country. And we're just as proud being part of the Thoroughbred Racing Association and for all of the help that they bring to racing today.
And Mr. Meeker, thank you very much. Always great to be here at Churchill Downs. There you see the beautiful Matt Wynn turf course. It is listed right now in yielding condition. May go to soft before we get this race underway. Here are the conditions for the Early Times Turf Classic. $150,000 out of this grade 3 event. They go 1 1/8 miles on the turf. It's 3-year-olds and up, and the field will give us a purse of about $175,600. Well, now to learn more about this race, the Early Times Turf Classic, and more about the historic turf course here at Churchill Downs, let's join our colleague, the man who will be calling the races for us today, Dave Johnson.
And even in the rain, there isn't any place I'd rather be than on the roof of Churchill Downs as they get ready for this great weekend. Today, the Oaks, and tomorrow, the Kentucky Derby. Well, this race is on the turf course, and it has a short but beautiful history. On May the 1st, 1987, Manila was the first horse to win over it, and it was the Early Times, which we're broadcasting this afternoon. Well, the time on that first running was 1:48.4, and last year, Yankee Affair at 8-5 won it in 1:50 flat with Pat Day in the irons. Well, Yankee Affair is back to try and make the third running his. And to find out who he'll have to face, here's our colleague, Charles C. Kent.
Well, Dave, I think the toughest competitor any of these horses have got today is Mother Nature. After all this, the turf course has got to be getting pretty deep. So consider the fact that a number of these horses running today have raced in Europe, where they get considerably more exposure to soft turf courses, and that could be a factor the way things are today. We have a field of 8. Let's take a look at them. Number 1 is Iron Courage, and he likes it yielding. Early Fires rides him. They're at 8-1. The 2 horses been scratched. Number 3 is a French import, Royal Rock, and Churchill Downs champ Pat Day is aboard. He's at 20-1. From Tampa Bay Downs is Gallant Mel, Gene St. Leon. He's at 20-1. Second choice in the betting is Yankee Affair, Randy Romero. He's at 5-2. Reputed Dancer, who very much liked a soft course in France, he's at 5-1, and Jerry Bailey rides. The favorite is Equalize. He's even money, and understandably so. Jose Santos rides. Another import is Pollinate. He's from Great Britain. He's at 112 pounds. Don Brumfield up 15-1. Also from France is Aigle Fin. Gary Stevens rides, and he is 30-1. Equalize, though, is our favorite today, and for very good reason. He's looking for his 4th straight stakes win this year. There he is, a flashy gray colt. He's earned more than $1.25 million in his career. One of those stakes victories was earlier this year, down at Gulfstream Park, back in February, in fact, and that win came at the direct expense of last year's champion turf horse, Sunshine Forever. There you see Equalize on the outside, the gray horse using his tactical speed all the way, and under regular rider Jose Santos, he just drives right to the victory. But to see how he runs today, let's go to Dave Johnson. They're loading the horses up.
And I'm sort of wiping off my binoculars. They are even fogging up today, as you can see, about half the field in, and the stakes and course record set by Manila. The gray horse Equalize, the 7-year-old, is 3-5 as we speak, and 2 more set to move in. Jose Santos aboard Equalize. And there's the 8-horse Pollinate with Don Brumfield. A bit of hesitation there. I understand that this track, this turf course, is very sandy, so that should help because it probably took the water very well. And there is Gary Stevens, who won the Derby last year with winning colors on Aigle Fin. And they're off. And Iron Courage sort of goes to the inside, but still has the early lead. But there goes Equalize, charging up on the outside, and Royal Rock is between horses third. Reputed Dancer and Yankee Affair right there as they pass the stands for the first time. Along the inside, it's Iron Courage with early fires leading the pack by a length and a quarter. And on the outside, Royal Rock is in second by a length and 3/4. Then the favorite Equalize moves to the inside, saves a little ground at the first turn, is third, as Pollinate moves on the outside into 4th position, 3 parts of a length. Yankee Affair, who took this race last year, is tucked in 5th at the rail by 2. Then Jerry Bailey has Reputed Dancer next, followed by Gallant Mel, and Gene St. Leon has lost his brown cap. That's his skull cap you're seeing. And the final horse in the field, Aigle Fin with Gary Stevens. Slow time for the half, 48-2 as they continue down the back stretch, and it's still Iron Courage. The gray horse by Cairo is showing the way by some length and 3/4, and on the inside, here comes the favorite Equalize, trained by Angel Pena Sr. with Dead Aim on the leader. Also moving up, Yankee Affair on the inside is gaining. Pollinate out in the middle of the racetrack is now 4th, and Royal Rock is dropping back. As the field moves to the top of the stretch, their heads apart on the front end. Iron Courage, who's had the lead from the start, Equalize on the outside to challenge. And in the middle of the track, here comes Yankee Affair, trying to gain on the top 2 leaders. Then Gallant Mel, and down the stretch they come. It's the favorite Equalize getting to the front 3 parts of a length. On the outside, Yankee Affair trying to close in, but Equalize, the old 7-year-old, is tough. Coming to the wire, a few yards, Equalize on the inside, yes! Holds on with Jose Santos and takes this 3rd running of the Early Times Turf Classic. $150,000 added, and the final time, 1 minute 51 2/5 seconds. And the trainer, Angel Pena, last night was trying to decide whether or not to scratch this horse. He wasn't sure if he liked the turf course being soft. He knew that he liked it firm and hard, but Equalize proved a lot this afternoon. Equalize unofficially taking this race.
All right, thank you, Dave. And there you see one of the best turf horses in the world, the veteran, the 7-year-old with the number 7, Equalize, our unofficial winner of the Early Times Turf Classic. We'll be back in a moment. This afternoon at Churchill Downs. We've just finished the Early Times Turf Classic, the 3rd running, and you're looking at the unofficial winner, Equalize, the 7-year-old turf specialist, ridden by Eclipse Award-winning jockey Jose Santos. He covered the 1 1/8 on a yielding turf course here today at 151-2. Yankee Affair 2nd, Gallant Mel 3rd. Here's Dave Johnson, another look at Equalize.
Well, Iron Courage on the inside had the lead from the start. That's the horse wearing the dark blinkers and gray. And on the outside, here comes the other gray in the field, the 1-2 closing favorite, Equalize. And Early Fires gets into Iron Courage along the inside, who was making only his 3rd start of the year and was 0 for 2 going into this. And Equalize, the 7-year-old by Northern Jove, trained by Angel Pena Sr., who took the Royal Palm last time at Hialeah, and before that won the Canadian Turf Handicap at Gulfstream Park. He shows some gritty determination. This is a game victory as Yankee Affair with Randy Romero comes on in the final strides. The margin of victory about a half ahead, and Equalize wins it this afternoon.
All right, thank you, Dave, as Equalize again proves the best. At the presentation for Early Times will be Rick Povil, the Early Times brand manager, and Jack Vio Kennard, Senior Vice President, Spirits Marketing. You know, the Early Times Turf Classic, in just its third event, is the richest corporate sponsored stakes in Churchill Downs history. They've added, Chelsea, if you will, please, a splash of water with their Early Times whiskey today. Had another great event. Chelsea?
Chris, I'm not even sure that's funny right now. But the weather couldn't dampen a lot of good racing here at Churchill Downs this afternoon. Earlier today, it was the Louisville Budweiser Breeders' Cup for fillies. It was at 1 1/16, $150,000 added. It was a grade 3 grade 3 stake for fillies, and it drew a pretty good field. We're going to look at the starting gate, and as they were lined up, we had quite a good entry. Rusty Arnold had Darien Miss and scoring last. Darien Miss would be closest to the rail. On the outside, Savannah's Honor breaking from, on the inside rather. And as they broke, Darien Miss sprints off to an early lead under young Patrick Johnson. And Savannah's Honor comes along the rail there and falls in behind her under Jerry Bailey. And as they round the first turn, it's Darien's Miss and Savannah's Honor. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the way it went. They went all the way around it. As they come through the stretch, it was still Darien's Miss under a strong, aggressive ride by young Patrick Johnson, and Jerry Bailey is unable to catch her. He played cat and mouse all the way and wasn't able to catch her through the stretch, so the winner comes up to be Darien Miss, despite all of Jerry Bailey's efforts aboard Savannah's Honor, a Stormbird filly who is yet to win on an off track in this country. And now Darien Miss, the winner. She pays $420 to win, $240 to place, $240 to show. Second was Savannah's Honor, $280 to win, $260 to show. And along for third was Miss Barber, $280 to show. The race was run in 146 flat over a very sloppy track. So back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm sorry I didn't like my water with the splash of Early Times, but a nice event for the Early Times and for Budweiser as well here with the racing. Well, coming up next is our big feature race. That's the Kentucky Oaks. We'll be back to talk about this historic duel of the fillies, their Fillies Derby, when we return to wet Churchill Downs. Celebrating the 115th Kentucky Derby, and Dave Johnson has strolled over from the roof. Dave, a lovely day at the races.
I'd rather be here, I told you, than any place else. And we've got some great fillies coming up to do the Oaks this afternoon.
We do. We're going to take a look at the conditions of racing now for the 115th running of the Kentucky Oaks. It is a grade 1, $200,000 added. And the fillies will go 1 mile and 1/8. All 3-year-olds and all will carry 121 pounds. And as you might expect, with a race with this much prestige and history to it, it's attracted some great fillies.
It has. And, you know, this afternoon, let's remember that this is the filly counterpart to the Kentucky Derby. And, you know, I find that in the horse business, they really view this race as a definitive race in terms of the breeding shed. So horses that do very well here usually end up getting their price way up.
And, of course, it's showcasing today one of the champions of our sport.
It is. We're talking about Open Mind, who last year was the 2-year-old champion filly. And there was a lot of talk early in the year that trainer D. Wayne Lucas might send Open Mind against the boys in the Kentucky Derby. Owned by Gene Klein, the former owner of the Chargers, now coupled with Imaginary Lady. And as you can see, 2 to 5, that is very, very low price to start. And Angel Cordero Jr. rides Open Mind, Imaginary Lady with Gary Stevens, a terrific 1-2 punch, 1 closer, 1 speedball. And the horses they're going to have to face, She's Scrumptious with Jean St. Leon is number 2, starting at 20 to 1. And then we come to number 3, Randy Romero's mount, Key Flyer at 10. We've had 1 scratch, that's Love That Native. And the final horse in the field, Blonde in a Motel by Bates Motel. Pat Day is the jockey, and 3 to 1 the starting price. The Kentucky Oaks Field for 1989.
Yeah, you got to love that name, Blonde in a Motel by Bates Motel. It wasn't the blonde in the Bates Motel, but something like that anyway. But had some fun with that one. Well, there's such great history in this Kentucky Oaks. We sent Charles C. Kennedy to do some research along with our producer, Tom Dawson. Here's their look at the history of the Oaks.
The sister race to the Kentucky Derby can easily stand on its own as one of the country's top 3-year-old races. It was developed by Colonel M. Lewis Clark, the founder of Churchill Downs, and had its first running in 1875. Over the years, many great race mares have competed in the Oaks, and some have had a profound effect on the generations that followed. In 1942, Miss Dogwood was the Oaks winner. She and her daughters have been responsible for over 25 stakes winners, as well as the outstanding sire, Mr. Prospector. The produce of the 1952 winner, Real Delight, features the likes of Codex, Our Mims, and the brilliant Aladar, sire of Derby favorite, Easy Goer. In 1956, Princess Turia won the Oaks for Calumet Farm and later produced the 1968 Derby winner, Forward Pass. Susan's Girl, the 72 victress and champion filly, has produced the Grade 1 Stakes winner and promising sire, Copeland. Some, like 1962 winner and multiple champion Cicada, were among the best ever on the racetrack, but did not duplicate that success as broodmares. In recent years, the Oaks has featured the likes of Princess Rooney. In 1983, the top money earner ever to draw a post position in this race. And last year's winner, Charlie Whittingham trained Goodbye Halo, is still causing problems for other race mares all over the country. The first Kentucky Oaks winner received $1,175 for her efforts. The winner today will pocket over $150,000. And in between, volumes of racing history.
Thank you, Chelsea. We'll wait a little more for Oaks history today. Let's celebrate right now the Early Times Turf Classic with Equalize, the winner of this third running. Here are the official prices at Churchill Downs. $3, $2.40, and $2.40 for the favorite Equalize, who, by the way, got a bit of a break today. He's usually been carrying top weight of 126 pounds around. Under allowance conditions for the Early Times, he totaled 118. 8 pounds, did it make a difference? Well, you saw it was less than half ahead, as Dave called it, to beat Yankee Affair for the top prize, 280, 280. Gallant Mel, 640, 151 and 2, the time on the yielding course. Let's run down the rest of them for you. Iron Courage finished 4th. Aglifan finished 5th. Reputed Dancer was 6th. Pollinate was 7th. And Royal Rock was 8th and last in the Early Times Turf Classic of 1989. Let's stay dry. We'll be back in a moment at Churchill Downs. Before the Derby, it is Kentucky Oaks Day, and we've got some more racing coming up for you here on ESPN. The inaugural Tour de Trump, it begins tonight. That's an international bicycle race featuring some of the top cyclists in the world on a course that covers over 900 miles. They start in Albany, New York. They'll end in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It starts tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN, the inaugural Tour de Trump. And the starting gates stand open there, waiting for these fillies to step in to be the part of the 115th Kentucky Oaks. Here are the current odds at Churchill Downs. The entry of Dwayne Lucas, Open Mind, the champion, and Imaginary Lady at 1 to 5, the very solid favorite. She's Scrumptious at 24 to 1. Key Flyer at 15 to 1. Love That Native, the Jack Van Berg trained filly, has been scratched from the field. And Blonde in a Motel. So we have 5 horses. We have 4 betting interests, but there will be no show betting today here at Churchill Downs after the scratch. So again, we have 4 betting interests in 5 horses in the field. Let's give you now a closer look at some of our top contenders in this field on the day before they run the Derby, the Kentucky Oaks Day.
Many trainers with Kentucky Derby hopefuls spend this first week in May concentrating solely on the run for the Roses. But it shouldn't be a surprise that leading conditioner Dwayne Lucas will send out a pair for today's Oaks. Part of this talented duo is 2-year-old filly champion Open Mind, who the trainer preferred to run today rather than test history again in the Derby.
Well, she's an overachiever. She's a work-like filly. She's not real brilliant in a lot of ways, but she just gets the job done time and time again. She's a filly that comes from off the pace and runs a strong race and yet to be beat this year. And she's just a good, solid, sound filly, and I think she's going to have a great season.
Lucas also saddles Imaginary Lady, winner of the Santa Anita Oaks, but second at a short price here in the Fantasy Stakes 2 weeks ago to Fantastic Look.
I was a little bit disappointed in her. I think that, first of all, you have to realize that when she lost that race, there was a 9-pound shift in weights, and I think that it contributed a little bit. And then the other thing is that she showed early speed and was pressured early by an entry that of Gary Jones's, only to have that horse drop out of sight and then get picked up by the one that eventually beat us. But that's horse racing, and I think that she didn't run as well as I'd liked her to, and I think she'll bounce back and run better here.
Also figuring strongly is Blonde in a Motel by Bates Motel with a nod toward Hitchcock. She ran what may have been the best race of her career in the Ashland Stakes at Keeneland as she pressed the multiple stakes-winning filly Gorgeous all the way to the wire and missed only by a neck. But all of the challengers may need to do more than ever before to keep Team Lucas from its third victory of this decade in the Kentucky Oaks.
Well, we are here in the paddock, and it appears that these fillies are a little slow to come over, unusually slow. That shows you how bad the weather is. In fact, the paddock judge came by just a moment ago, a little bit distraught that the fillies weren't here yet. But finally, Blonde in a Motel made an appearance. She's under a sheet and a rain blanket, and everyone else is staying secure up underneath the saddling stalls there. Actually, here comes the first of Wayne Lucas's entry here. This is Open Mind. She has come over. She's not wearing any rain sheet at all. And needless to say, she's a little bit on the damp side, but looks very well. A grand filly she is. She hadn't been beaten since the Frizette last October. She doesn't know how to lose. 1-5 the entry is right now. Chris, back up to you.
Well, our racetrack listed as sloppy as you might expect. It opened the day here at Churchill Downs, by the way, listed as muddy. As you see, our fillies are still making their way into the paddock behind the grandstands here at Churchill Downs. We'll come back with more coverage of our Kentucky Oaks on ESPN after this Breeders' Cup Championship moment.
Another Breeders' Cup Championship moment. Under a light rainfall at historic Churchill Downs, Super Filly Personal Ensign would retire unbeaten by capturing the Breeders' Cup distaff. Standing in her path was Kentucky Derby champion Winning Colors.
Here comes Personal Ensign, unleashing a furious one on the outside. Winning Colors is there. A dramatic finish, and it is Personal Ensign there.
For undefeated Personal Ensign, this courageous victory was her Breeders' Cup Championship moment.
A sloppy racetrack on a rainy afternoon at Churchill Downs. Hello, Chris Lincoln here as we welcome you back with the Kentucky Oaks. Well, our favorites are Open Mind and also Imaginary Lady. Let's see what the Daily Racing Forum has to say now about who they like in the race.
Chris, I think we're going to have an opportunity to see an exceptional filly on Friday. And, of course, that would be Open Mind, owned by Eugene Klein and trained by Wayne Lucas. She's not a flashy filly, but she's very businesslike. And her record is truly remarkable. In 9 starts, she's won 7 times with 2 seconds. She doesn't miss very often. She's very steady. She's coming off 5 consecutive stakes victories, starting with the Breeders' Cup. And I think she's got a good chance to be one of the fillies of this decade. That's Open Mind. And she dominates the field for the Kentucky Oaks. There are a couple of promising fillies in against her. Her stablemate, Imaginary Lady, is quite a capable filly herself. A filly named Blonde in a Motel by Bates Motel ran well in the Ashland at Keeneland. And Key Flyer, a filly trained by Leroy Jolly, won her last start over 1 1/8 at Keeneland, a small stake race. And she is a filly who's improving rapidly. I think by midsummer, she might be in a position to challenge Open Mind, but at this time, Open Mind's stand out in the division.
Well, Mr. Hirsch, the bettors here agree with you, too, at Churchill Downs. As the entry, Open Mind and Imaginary Lady, the solid 1-5 choice. They opened at 2-5. She's scrumptious then at 23-1. The 3-horse Key Flyer at 11-1. Again, Scratch, Love That Native, and Blonde in a Motel is a solid second choice at 2-1. Let's get on now to Charles C. Canny in the walking ring here at Churchill Downs.
Well, Chris, they finally all arrived, and everybody got finally tacked up, and they're ready to go. The jocks are there. In fact, they're putting riders up underneath the shed. There you see Angel Cordero aboard, Open Mind, obviously the heavy favorite, the champion filly. Everyone looking forward to seeing her perform. Just behind her is Imaginary Lady wearing the blinkers, and of course both wearing the white bridles of D. Wayne Lucas. An interesting filly to note here today is the number 3 filly is Key Flyer with Randy Romero aboard. She's owned by Carl Icahn and trained by Leroy Jolly. This filly is by Nijinsky out of Key Partner, who's quite a good mare. She's been racing on the turf in her last 3 starts, and it'll be interesting to see how she translates today to this sloppy track. It's often said that a turf horse also likes the slop as well. And here is Blonde in a Motel, who was so good to finish a good game second in the Ashland last time out. She comes from off the pace, and I spoke with Angel Cordero earlier in the jocks room, and he said this track is good and firm and really favoring speed, so Blonde in a Motel may have her work cut out for her today. Imaginary Lady, certainly the other half of Wayne Lucas's entry, will certainly be on the lead, and they'll all have her to catch. The fillies are on their way out to the racetrack now. Of course, it is still wet and rainy. It's slacked up a little bit here, and of course, I'm being a little bit distracted here. Wayne Lucas is kind of smiling and giving me a big thumbs up. I think he feels very confident, and rightly he should at 1-5. He's got a strong 1-2 punch here. He's walking off now, a little bit still suffering from his back ailment, carrying an umbrella, but looking as natty as ever. But the fillies are on the track, and let's go up to Chris Lincoln for the post parade.
Thank you, Chelsea. This one of 13 Grade 1 events for 3-year-old fillies in racing. As they set foot on the track, we'll pick up our post parade, and as the fillies set foot on the track, the skies begin to lighten, the rains begin to lighten up a bit too. Here she is, the champion, Open Mind, never worse than second in 9 starts, won her last 5 starts, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. She is the champion filly. D. Wayne Lucas, the trainer, looking for his 3rd Oaks win, and the rider is Angel Cordero Jr., the Hall of Famer. He won the Oaks in 1984. The other part of the entry, here's the speed horse. She'll be on the front, Imaginary Lady, second in the Fantasy to break a 4-race win streak for her. She'd earlier won the Santa Anita Oaks. She's a $10,000 Keeneland sale bargain, then resold to D. Wayne Lucas for $100,000. Bob French and D. Wayne Lucas, the owners of this. Gary Stevens, the rider, of course, he rode the Derby winner last year, winning colors. The number 2 horse, She's Scrumptious, a Keeneland $22,000 September sale purchase. Winner of the Florida Oaks at 84-1, coming off of 2 unsuccessful turf starts, now back to the dirt. Gene St. Leon is the rider. Remember him from Lost Code. The 3 horse is Key Flyer. Always got a check in 1989. Won a turf race at Keeneland in her last start. Certainly improving. Royally bred, as Chelsea mentioned. Her last 3 starts have all been on the grass. Let's see how she'll take to the dirt today. Key Flyer, ridden by Randy Romero. He knows about great fillies. He rode undefeated Personal Ensign last year. Scratch the Forest, Love That Native. Rounding out the post parade, Blonde in a Motel, second in the Ashland Stakes. Improving, should like Phil Housewell believes, the added distance today and the longer stretch here at Churchill Downs. Pat Day, the multiple Eclipse Award winner, won the Oaks last year with Goodbye Halo, and of course will be in the irons tomorrow on the favorite Easy Goer for the Kentucky Derby. Well, there is our field as they head up the track here, and you see with umbrellas and under the windows, well, the folks, of course, are looking for a favorite, but they know 1-5 won't pay them. They're looking for a long shot. We've got one, the Budweiser long shot for the Oaks.
Red Key Flyer, result of a merger, leading sire Nijinsky II and top mare Key Partner that financier Carl Icahn bought for $2.1 million. Now, Mr. Icahn knows all about high-priced long shots, but he also likes to see profitable returns, and Key Flyer showed some of that potential in her last start at Keeneland. Her stock rose as she took the Palisades on the turf by half a length. She was unraced at 2 because trainer Leroy Jolly wanted to give her some time to grow. Well, she's been on the most active list at 3 with 5 starts, and in each one she's earned a dividend, including a 9-length win on the dirt at Gulfstream to break her maiden. Today, Key Flyer moves back to the main track for her first try in Grade 1 competition, and we hope she engineers a takeover of her own. We're talking about the winner's circle as today's Budweiser long shot.
And Key Flyer galloping off, getting ready to head towards the starting gate, and is held at 10-1. The Budweiser long shot in the Kentucky Oaks. We'll be back with more from Churchill Downs.
For the Derby, and it is the Oaks. And as they get ready, we're under the blue and white umbrella. Hi, everybody. Bob Morris and Tony Olivato helping me up here stay dry. Let's take a look at the odds. Open Mind and Imaginary Lady at 1-5. She's Scrumptious up to 21-1. Key Flyer is at 9. Scratch the number 4 horse. Love That Native. Blonde in a Motel 2-1. Don't forget Open Mind and Imaginary Lady coupled in the wagering. And a few of the jockeys in this race have a fine history. Imaginary Lady is ridden this afternoon by Gary Stevens. That's Gary wearing the orange and white colors, who you will see the orange and white colors tomorrow being worn by Houston. But back in 1986, Gary rode Tiffany last to victory, not only in the Arkansas Fantasy Stakes, but won the big race here, the Oaks, back in 1986. Now, number 1, Open Mind, is ridden by Angel Cordero Jr. And back in 1984, it was Cordero aboard Lucky, Lucky, Lucky for Mr. Lucas to win the Oaks. He's got his whip in his mouth and ready to get himself together and move into line. So a field of 5, the Kentucky Oaks. Post positions drawn by lot. That's why She's Scrumptious with Jean St. Leon moves in first. Then we have Open Mind, last year's 2-year-old filly champion. Errol Flint set the track record, 148-2. And there goes Key Flyer. The Bud Long shot with Randy Romero is in and ready. And white blinkers for Imaginary Lady will move in. Ready to go. One more behind the gate. Blonde in a Motel. Pat Day took this race last year with Goodbye Halo. Lucas has a powerful entry. One coming from off the pace and one sprinting to the lead. And Imaginary Lady takes the early lead on the outside. Blonde in a Motel. Up into the second spot, She's Scrumptious with the yellow blinkers along the inside is third. Then comes Open Mind, and at the back of the pack, the Bud Long shot, Key Flyer and Randy Romero, fifth as they swing around the clubhouse turn. Imaginary Lady, but Gary Stevens showing the way and racing away from the rail, in command by about 2. Then it's She's Scrumptious in the second spot by 3.5. Blonde in a Motel with Pat Day is third at this point. Then between horses, Key Flyer, and at the rail, the favorite, Open Mind. First quarter in 23 3/5 seconds, and down the backstretch they go. The early speed horse, Imaginary Lady, still has an easy lead by 2. She's Scrumptious holds the second spot as Open Mind finds room along the inside and moves through now a close-up third. Then comes Key Flyer fourth, and Blonde in a Motel is fifth, the half on this sloppy racetrack in 48 seconds. But it's still Imaginary Lady. But Gary Stevens aboard, trying to take it wire to wire as the stablemate Open Mind moves into the second spot, and She's Scrumptious is racing third. They're midway on the turn. Imaginary Lady by Marfa has the lead by 4 lengths. Along the inside, Open Mind is second, and then it's some 6 lengths farther back to the final 3 horses. Key Flyer along the inside, Blonde in a Motel, and She's Scrumptious drops out of it. Moving to the 8th pole, Imaginary Lady in front every step of the way. Here comes Open Mind on the outside, the entry, 1-2, and down the stretch they come in the Oaks. It's going to be a Lucas trained horse that's going to win it. But which one? Open Mind on the outside takes command. Imaginary Lady is second, and the others are far back. Here's the finish of the Oaks. Open Mind, another championship performance with Angel Cordero Jr. in the irons to win another one of the Oaks. It was stablemate Imaginary Lady finishing second, and Blonde in a Motel was third, followed by Key Flyer, and far back, She's Scrumptious. The final time on the off racetrack, 1 minute 50 3/5 seconds. Looks like Open Mind is having another big year.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. As Open Mind, our unofficial winner, well, they ran just like they were in the program. Open Mind won, and then Imaginary Lady 1A finishing second. That time of 1:50 3, really not too bad either, as you consider Franz Valentine ran 1:50 and 1 1/8 on and off track, just 3/5 of a second off of the stakes record for the 115th running of the Kentucky Oaks. We'll be back to make it official right after this. Of this game, Angel Cordero Jr., the Hall of Fame rider who celebrates his second win in the historic Kentucky Oaks. He won in 1984 on Lucky, Lucky, Lucky. Today, he's on the champion. Open Mind. Now she has won her last 6 starts in a row, going back to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. There's Dwayne Lucas, his wife Sherry, assistant trainer there, Karen McLaughlin in the red and blue, as they celebrate another victory. There's the famous flying dismount by the Angel, as he has done so many times. Unofficially, it was a Dwayne Lucas kind of day. Open Mind, 1:50 3, the winning time. Imaginary Lady, the other part of the entry, who set the early fraction second. Blonde in a Motel third. Dave, that's just the way the folks bet him here, as Dwayne Lucas made it happen. 1-2, his third win in the Kentucky Oaks. Here's how it happened.
Well, it's pretty hard to bet against this filly. Let's take a look at the key point in the race where Open Mind showed her natural speed, her ability to go a distance. Cordero there pulls down a set of goggles. He wore 4 in this race this afternoon because being from the back of the pack, they kept getting muddy, and he pulled it down and finds room along the inside. Jean St. Leon on She's Scrumptious is trying to get his filly to move along, but as you can see, Open Mind just overpowers and overclasses the field and gets now into the second spot. Let's watch as Cordero gets into the filly now, bred in New Jersey by Bob Brennan's Due Process stable. A right-handed whip, a left-handed whip, and then back to the right hand for the final few strides. An Imaginary Lady on the inside with Gary Stevens hanging tough. The final 1/8 of a mile in a quick 13 seconds on this sloppy track. And Cordero eases the horse home, taking another Oaks. Open Mind takes it by about 1 3/4 lengths.
All right, thank you, Dave. D. Wayne Lucas puts the umbrella up. Wayne, you really don't need it, as just a few sprinkles. The sun's starting to try to peek through some of the gray clouds here. That smile on D. Wayne Lucas makes his bad back feel better. It'll be better if Houston can come through tomorrow. Back in a moment. Rain has stopped, the sky is brightening, and maybe that's going to mean good weather for the Kentucky Derby tomorrow. Kentucky Oaks, well, the racetrack was sloppy, but it didn't dim the performance of the champion Open Mind. 3/5 of a second off the stakes record here at Churchill Downs, 115th running of this Kentucky Oaks. 260, 240 is no-show wagering. Imaginary Lady at 240, and Blonde in a Motel running third. Chelsea?
Well, I don't think anyone has any trouble recognizing Wayne Lucas, trainer of Open Mind. And Wayne, this is the first time I've really stood up beside her. She's a small filly with a great big heart.
Yeah, Chelsea, that's one of the reasons I think we optioned for the Oaks instead of the Kentucky Derby. She's not a winning colors in stature, and I thought this was a great spot for her, and she complimented the other filly in the race that we had, Imaginary Lady, also. So as it turned out, I think it was the best decision.
Well, as the race set up, and Angel did mention to me earlier that this track was going to favor a speed horse, and I think he knew he had his work cut out to keep your other filly in his sights.
Right. The first thing Angel said when he come to the paddock is, would you like me to lay a little bit closer? And I said, no. I said, don't change our strategy now. We're 5 for 5, and just because it's raining, I don't want to start getting too cute or too smart out there. I did like the fact that when they were going down the backside, that he moved up on the rail. He was a little bit preoccupied with the inside maybe being soft, and when he moved up on the rail, he got into a good position, and I think he might have discouraged a Blonde in a Motel and She's Scrumptious on the outside of him. So after they got to the far turn, it looked like it was going to be one of the white bridles anyhow, so we were felt very comfortable at that point.
Last year, after Charlie Whittingham won the Oaks with Goodbye Halo, I said that boded well for winning colors in the Derby the next day. What does Wayne Lucas winning the Oaks today bode for Wayne Lucas in the Derby tomorrow?
Well, I wouldn't want to compare Open Mind and in Houston. However, I think that every year, as soon as you win the Oaks, they say, can you double? Can you come back on Saturday and win them both? And I think it's a very, very tough act. I think it's very difficult to do. The weather's going to have so much to say about tomorrow's race. It had a lot to say about today's race. So if, in fact, we get this kind of a day, I think it's going to require a lot of soul searching and maybe new strategy by a lot of people. But I'm hopeful Houston will handle the weather.
Well, one thing I've observed is you were moving a lot better after the race than you were before. Congratulations, Wayne, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. I told the press that as bad as the back is, if Houston wins, I'll jump the rail, but I'm going to renege on that. You know that.
We'll be standing by to see it. In the meantime, we go back to Chris Lincoln.
All right, Chelsea, let's take a look at the full order of finish as we wrap up the 115th Kentucky Oaks. Open Mind, the winner. Her stablemate Imaginary Lady was second. Blonde in a Motel was third. Key Flyer, the Budweiser long shot, was fourth. And She's Scrumptious running fifth. Well, Dave, I'll tell you, Open Mind, you have to wonder how much you've done tomorrow with the boys.
I think she would have done very well. About half of the field doesn't deserve to be in there tomorrow anyway, so I think Open Mind would have done well, but I don't think she would have touched the likes of the top 3, and we're talking about Easy Goer, Sunday Silence, and Houston, who has a shot.
Well, everybody talking about the odds of the Kentucky Derby. We're going to go now to Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. Ralph Sirocco is there to bring us an update on open and closing odds in Vegas.
After 22 weeks of wagering, the 7th annual Kentucky Derby future book is now complete. And about 45% of over the $1 million legally bet is on Easy Goer in the future book. He started out as 5-2 after his last 2-year-old race, a loss in the Breeders' Cup, and is now the prohibitive 2-5 favorite to win the Derby. From the rail, the Oklahoma-bred Clever Trevor went to 30-1. He opened at 80. Western Playboy, the Jim Beam and Bluegrass winner, now at 20 from 35. The $2.9 million purchase by D. Wayne Lucas, the well-touted Houston, at 7-2 and second in the betting from 5-1. Charlie Whittingham's Santa Anita Derby winner, Sunday Silence, represents the West at 4-1 from 30. Awe-inspiring, the entry made of Easygoer, who won the Flamingo, is at 8-1 from 75. And in the future book, there is no entry. He'll race uncoupled. Easygoer, of course, 2-5. And the most movement on any horse in this race, from 100-1 to 25, was Flying Continental. He'll break from post position number 2. To everyone in the race, a safe and trouble-free journey for the 115th running of the Kentucky Derby. This is Ralph Sirocco reporting from Las Vegas, Nevada for Budweiser Racing Across America.
And Ralph will join us for 2 live reports tomorrow during our 2-hour Kentucky Derby special here on ESPN. We'll be here from 2:30 to 4:30. Let's take a look now at the field. It'll run tomorrow in the Derby. And Dave Johnson, who'll call it?
We have the Lucas entry of Shy Tom and Houston starting at 8-1, and the Shug McGahee-trained Awe-Inspiring and Easygoer starting at 3-5, the prohibitive public choice. Clever Trevor and Flying Continental at 30. Western Playboy, who you saw in our broadcast, win the Jim Beam and the Bluegrass a couple Saturdays ago at 8-1. Hawkster at 30 with Marco Castaneda. Then Dancel at 20. Faultless Ensign up at 50-1. Triple Buck at 30. Now there's a nice price for that horse with Santos. Sunday Silence, second choice at 3-1 with Pat Valenzuela. Let's look at some more in the field. Irish Actor and Notation at 50, and the mutual field of Notation, Windsplitter, and Northern Wolf, all coupled in the wagering. 3 for the price of 1, 50-1.
Well, the man everybody's going to be watching tonight are not one of the trainers, the owners, of the jockeys. It'll be Butch Lear, the racetrack superintendent. He's got his work cut out for him.
He does a terrific job, and he told me that this racetrack does take a lot of water, so if we don't get any more water, I'll predict a fast track.
All right, Chelsea?
Well, that racetrack is the issue here. Tomorrow afternoon, of course, Easygoer will attempt to begin his quest for greatness. I believe he's got a good shot at it. I don't believe this racetrack, this off racetrack at Churchill Downs, will bother him the way it was supposedly bothering him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I think we'll see something tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Chelsea. We'll wrap our Oaks Day coverage here first. You saw Equalize, the 7-year-old veteran. Add to his big earnings here as he just holds on over Yankee Bear to win the Early Times Turf Classic. And then it's Open Mind, beating her stablemate, Imaginary Lady.